but with you it cannot be done.
Good evening, my musical brothers and sisters all around the world, from Wolfswin Studios in Cape Town, South Africa. Guys, I've been asked many times to explain the difference between dynamics and velocities. Okay, dynamics, I'm sure you all are familiar with. It is the volume of a note, for example, a mezzo forte. Okay, that determines the volume of a note or a phrase. Dynamics also have something like hairpins, okay, which makes a crescendo and a decrescendo, and so forth. Okay. While we at this now, I've been asked by somebody on my YouTube forum or comments, how can I create a crescendo and a decrescendo, okay, other than using hairpins? Well, if I want to go from a mezzo forte to a fortissimo, and say to a piano, okay, then I would select these bars here, go to the play tab on the ribbon, go to plugins and say crescendo and diminuendo playback. Okay, the lowest volume, those 2 points, you can mention or add the value there. You can see here the person indicated the values according to the dynamics. Okay, so a 50 will be between a piano and a mezzo piano, I think. Okay, so for now I'll leave it at 50, and I'll leave it 100, which is a fortissimo. Okay, so what will happen now? It will be from a 50 to a 100 to a 50. Okay, you can also use a C11 MIDI controller volumes if you prefer. Okay, and all you do is you press OK, and you'll notice it added all those controller details there, but you can hide it by hiding it. Okay, so if I play this line, okay, so that is how you can actually add more to your hairpins by using this plugin here. You also have other plugins like a strummer for guitar and things like that, so do explore your plugins. You've got some amazing plugins in Sibelius. Now excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold. Okay, so I'm just going to undo this because I don't need this now for my demonstration. Right, so that is dynamics. I want to talk to you now about velocity. A velocity is not a dynamic per se, it is an attack on the note. I guess the best way to describe it is, if you have a trumpet and you blow softly on the trumpet, you get a mellow tone. If you play loud on the piano, on a trumpet, you get a brassy sound, like in Star Wars, you know. So, if I play these notes now, does this sound like Star Wars? Okay, yes, it does. The notes are there, but there's no fire to it. So we need to change the velocity. Now I can select all the notes and give them the same attack. All brassy. Okay, so I go to the play tab and I use this a lot. Okay, make sure live playback is enabled, and then you go to transform and you get two tabs, timings and velocity. I always use this one. 64 is in the center of these two numbers, so I like to use one, anywhere between 120 and 127, depending on the brassiness I need. Okay, but just for now I'll show you the most brassy note performer VST can play. Okay, now all those notes were given a velocity of 127. Now listen to this. I think you should actually lower your volume on your earphones or your speakers. Okay, let me just do that. Okay, now you can listen to this. Better, wouldn't you agree? Okay, there are not many VSTs who can do this. Now all I need to do is just put the volumes in. I mean the dynamics, sorry. Alright, so it should still sound the same. Right, now, okay, before I get to something else, I first want to show you something else, okay? I'm going to reset all these notes back to 64, because I need to show you something else. Okay, now we're back the way we were. This is here. As you can hear, the fortissimo did not do much about the brassiness. Okay, so now I want to show you something else. Very little nifty trick. You can actually change each individual note, or actually chord's velocity on its own to fine tweak velocities. Okay, and the way you do it is by using this. Okay, now if you do not see that, it's because hide all is selected. Okay, if I press the nothing, you see, it doesn't come up, it doesn't appear. Okay, so two things you must check if you do not see those velocity bars. You first go to home, inspector, and make sure that live velocity is enabled. Okay, you can close it up and then make sure hide all is not selected. Now you can actually fine-tune the velocity of each separate chord or note in a scale or in your violin section or piano piece or whatever. You know, when you play a piano loud, if you struck the keys loud, you get a very harsh piano sound, or if you play softly, you get a more melodic, lyrical sound on the piano. Now you can do that by changing all these little blue lines. Okay, so what you do is you don't pull it up, you click on the area where you want it, like that, you see, and there, like that. You see. Excuse me. Okay, so this way you can fine-tune all your little velocities of each chord. Okay, so I'm not going to go into deep into this now. I think you understand what I mean by that. Okay, so just make sure that this hide all is disabled so you can see it, and that live playback, you see, live playback must be enabled as well. Alright, let me just reset all the velocities back to 60. Oh, sorry, I must first select it. You will see all these bars go back to the center. If I make it all 64 again, you see, they're all reset. Okay, now let me just take it away. Okay, well, actually, no, I want them all loud because this is Star Wars, by the way. So let me just no. Wait a minute. Something else I need to show you. Say, for instance, I want to start mellow, go all the way brassy until that note, and then mellow out again. This is how you do it. You select your first phrase. Okay. You go to transform, and then you go to crescendo, diminuendo. But please remember, crescendo and diminuendo does not mean dynamic. It means velocity. Okay, it is brassiness or the attack of the note. So I'm going to go from mellow to very brassy. So I will go from 64 or less. It's up to you. I'll go from 64. I find if I go less than, say, 60, then it's not really like a brass instrument. Maybe it will work for a piano or a string. Okay, and the loudest, okay, must be 127. Okay, so it will start at 64, and then that note will be 127. It will go all the way brassy, okay? And then from this note to that section there, I'm going to reverse it. I'll go from not 127 because that note was 127. This one must now be a little bit softer, obviously. So I'll go from 120 back to 64. And then I say, okay, now listen to this. Now, does that grab you? There are not very many VSTs that is so flexible as Note Performer. I haven't tested this on East-West yet, but I will soon in Dorico. Okay, I'm still learning that excellent piece of software. But okay, let's stick with Sibelius. Now I want to show you something else, and that is also in this transform box. I keep forgetting I must select a note. As you heard, that note or those notes should be staccato. But you know, many times in a score, if you put too much articulations, it is cluttered and whatever. Especially in the classical era and the Baroque era, the composers, I think they were lazy, or maybe they didn't know about articulations. We have a whole bunch of articulations, as you can see lately, you know, in these boxes and stuff. So instead of putting a staccato, sometimes I find staccatos are too short. Oh wait, I must first do that. Okay, so if I play it, as you heard, that staccato was too short. Whoops. Stop. Stop. Okay. As you heard here, the staccato is too short. No. So, alright. I can actually now go into the dictionary and articulations, go to staccato, and adjust the 50%, maybe 60%, but then the whole score will be 60%. And sometimes I want the staccato in certain sections a little bit longer and a little bit shorter, and not all 50%, if you know what I mean. Okay, so I'd rather not play around with the dictionary because it's too generic for me. I prefer to fine-tune it myself. So what I do is this. Now we know a staccato is 50% according to the dictionary, but I'm going to make it 65%. And the way to do that is going there, timings, and I set live durations to 65%. Okay, now listen to this. Isn't that better? You see? So what you can do is you go to your dictionary, articulations, staccato, and just enable it. That means you decide how long the staccato must be. Okay? If you want to play around a bit with the other properties of a staccato, that's up to you. Let me just see a marcato or an accent. Yeah, an accent. The attack of an accent is 100. Okay, out of 127, obviously. Okay, the dynamic is 120 of the current dynamic. Okay, so if you have a forte, it will be 120% louder than the forte. Okay. I also like playing around with where is it? Goodness. Here it is, marcato. Okay. I like it when I use jazz pieces. You know, when you have sharp attacks on your notes, all right? So I put sometimes I make it 200%, you know, or of the attack. The attack is the velocity. I make it more than 135, you know. But you can play around with your marcatos when you do jazz pieces and stuff like that, or accents if you want it, okay? But when it comes to staccato, I prefer to define my own staccatos, because, as you know, staccatos differs from phrases to phrases. The same with accents, actually. You know, you can also play around with that. Okay, so now that I've made the staccatos, or what's the English word? I disabled the staccatos. Now I can add staccato. Okay, but it will not play it. It will use my version of the staccato. Did it play? Did it play its own 50%? Hey, Sibelius is rebelling against me. Ah, it's back. I wonder why. Let me see again. Okay. Don't know how that happened. Alright, now let me just put it back to what I want it to be. It seems to me Sibelius does not play. Wait, staccato. Sorry guys, it was to say no effect. I'm getting used to Dorico now. No playback effect. Please don't forget that, like I did. Alright, now it should not do it. think that was right. Let's see. I don't know, somehow it still sounded to me like it did play it back. It shouldn't. No playback effect, and staccatissimo, it's just no playback effect. I find Sibelius as it's progressing, it's getting more bugs. But okay, who am I to say? There's no staccatos here. Anyway, that's the idea anyway. Okay, what I normally do is, if I make a mock-up, I don't put the staccatos in, because I just go to File and Export, and then as the audio file, I first export the audio file so that the client can hear the correct staccatos and accents and whatever, and then if I need to print parts, I would go back and then add staccatos, you know, for the musicians. Okay, so without putting in the staccatos, it should be okay now. That's better, you see. Okay, the same here. If you hear these notes here, these notes can also be a bit shorter, but be careful, they are already semiquavers, so we don't want them too short. So I guess 80% should do it. The same with that. It takes a bit of time to do it, but as you practice, it gets easier. As you can see, I just one, and this was also it's not slurred. Take it right, so we'll also make them like a staccato. Let's hear the effect now. Right, I think that is about it, except I am a tuba player and I would prefer accents on those notes. Last time, here we go. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I think you get the idea of dynamics versus velocity, and as well as the timings. You know, before I finish, the timings, you can also lengthen the timings longer than 100%. If you want, if you really want smooth legato sounds, you can actually scale your live durations to say 105 or so. That means it will, your notes will overlap the next note coming on. Okay, so do play around with this transform button. It is a very powerful little dialog box which I use a lot. Okay, I think a software like Dorico actually has a visual, like a door, that manages all these MIDI data, but in Sibelius you can do it this way, and it works very well. Okay, apart from that, do check out your plugins. I forgot the guy's name now, but he wrote 1,000 of plugins. As you can see, you've got so many things you can do, and if you do not know where to find something, just type it in there. You can say fermata, okay, and you can just see there. You can click on it and it will show you where it is. Okay, or if I want to say crescendo. There you are, you see? So the guys really did, or went through the big trouble, making it easier for us to find stuff on the ribbon, which I love a lot. This is Mikhail. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Keep well.